Katie and John went on vacation together to an exotic location. In their first week, they booked a tour to the desert. But during the tour, the couple got lost. They were really thirsty, so they decided to go look for some water. Soon enough, the couple came across a huge oasis. But to reach the main waterfall where they could drink some water, they had to cross a bridge. But there were 3 bridges leading to the same place. The first bridge was high above the ground, and the ropes holding it looked as if they could rip at any second. The second bridge had some hungry-looking alligators crawling all over it, and the last bridge stretched over a lake full of poisonous water plants. Which bridge should they choose? The last one. The bridge stands high above the lake. Katie and Jake won't have to touch the water and the plants when crossing it. Luckily, they had radios with them, so they sent an SOS signal to their guide. The guide told them to sit tight. He promised the guys that a rescue team would be shortly on its way to help them. In a few hours, 3 rescue teams reached Katie and John. The guys got suspicious and asked the members of the team who had sent them. The first team said that they'd heard on the radio that a couple had gotten lost in the desert and had come to help them. The members of the second team explained that the hotel the guys were staying at had called the police for help. The last team said they'd received a radio signal saying the couple had been in distress. They immediately came to the rescue. Which team should the couple trust? The last team. John and Katie sent a message to their guide as soon as they got lost, remember? Back in the hotel room, John and Katie found out that someone had broken into their safe. The couple called the police and told the inspector that a few $100s and an expensive watch had been stolen from the safe. In less than a day, the inspector had 3 suspects. The first suspect was Bella, their tour guide. Bella said she'd been really worried about the couple's disappearance and hadn't left her room. The second suspect was Claudio, the hotel manager. He told the inspector that he hadn't even known that the couple had been missing. He was sure they'd been staying in their room this whole time. The last suspect was Bob from the rescue team. He told the inspector it wasn't him. It was the first time he had set foot in the hotel. Who is lying? Claudio. Look at his wrist. He's wearing a very expensive watch that looks exactly like the watch that was stolen. Plus, look at his pocket. He didn't do a good job at hiding the stash of money he'd stolen. After the crime was solved, John and Katie decided it was time to head home. As soon as they arrived at their house, they tried to open the new suitcase they had bought during the trip. They tried several number combinations but couldn't figure out the code. Luckily, Katie remembered she had saved a note on her cell phone. This was the tip she wrote down. 682. 1 digit is right and in its place. 614. 1 digit is right but in the wrong place. 206. 2 digits are right but both are in the wrong place. 768. All digits are wrong. 380. 1 digit is right but in the wrong place. Can you figure out what the 3-digit code to open their suitcase is? (042). The following weekend, Katie's friends invited her to a picnic in the forest. But when she arrived at the agreed place, she didn't see any of her girlfriends. Instead, she saw a large group of people standing in a wide clearing. Apparently, she had come to the wrong location, but right before she left, she noticed that 3 of these people weren't human. Can you spot them? Look at the way that girl over there blinks. This doesn't look normal, does it? And look at that granny's cane. It's part of her body, not a separate object. And that guy is charging his phone using a cable connected to his leg. Yikes! On a rainy Saturday night, John and Katie decided to stay in, order pizza, and watch the Riddle channel on TV. On the screen, there were 2 women. The first one was stuck inside a cage hanging above the ocean, filled with sharks. The other woman was tied with a rope, hanging over a lake with piranhas. Both ropes were about to break. Who has the best chance of surviving? It's lady number 2. The first lady is stuck inside a cage, so she has no way to escape. If she falls into the water, she will most likely not survive. But lady number 2 has both her hands free, so she can try to climb the rope before it tears. The next morning, John went to work. As soon as he arrived at the office, he saw that his colleague Susan was very upset. She said that at one point she had gone to the bathroom, but when she came back, she discovered that someone had stolen her pearl earrings she had kept inside her drawer. John promptly undertook an investigation. The first suspect was Gertrude, a saleswoman. She said she was in a meeting with the CEO and nowhere near Susan's famous pearl earrings. The second suspect was Britt, an IT guy. He said he'd been fixing the company's software all morning. And lastly, John questioned Brian, the CEO, who said he had spent the morning at his daughter's ballet recital. Can you tell who's lying? It was Gertrude. Gertrude's account contradicts the CEO's statement. And plus, look at those pearl earrings she has in her desk drawer. They look somewhat familiar, no? John went back to his desk and started working. Later that evening, a massive power outage made all the lights in the building go out. John heard footsteps approaching him. The next thing he knew, he felt dizzy. He passed out and woke up in a tiny room with a metal door. John tried to open the door, but it was locked. He noticed that next to the door, there was a little device with a red sign that asked for a password. Below the device, there was a piece of paper with the following hint: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. John read the note aloud several times before he finally figured out what the password was. Can you guess what password he typed? He typed in 1 time the number 2, 3 times the number 4, 5 times the number 6, and 7 times the number 8. Phew, that wasn't very obvious, was it? One afternoon, John was walking down the street when he came across a dog. The dog had a collar with its name on it, and a part of its leash was still attached to the collar. It looked like the dog had just run away, so John picked it up and started searching for its owner. He walked into a pet store, and there were 3 people standing near the counter. John took a quick look around and knew immediately who the owner was. How did he figure it out? Look at the guy in the middle. A ripped leash is hanging out of his pocket. He must be the dog's owner. On a beautiful morning, Katie and her friend went on a hike. At some point, they saw a river they needed to cross. Both of them needed to get to the other side. However, the boat could only make one trip back and forth and take one of them at a time. Still, both of them managed to get across the river. How? That's easy. They both went on a hike on the same day, but they weren't together, so they arrived at the river at the same time. But they were on the opposite banks, and after Katie arrived at the other side of the river, her friend managed to get to the opposite bank too. Stuart works as a teacher in an old British magic school, which is located in a beautiful castle. Early in the morning, he's walking down the corridor. Suddenly, Stuart hears a loud noise from the class and goes there to check. He sees 3 students raising their wands. One of them is a fake wizard. Can you guess who? This guy, he has an ordinary twig instead of a magic wand. Stuart settles down the quarrel and goes to the dining hall. He chooses one of these 4 breakfast sets. But Stuart doesn't eat any meat or fish. Also, he's allergic to all the purple fruits and berries. Can you help him choose the safest option? First of all, let's exclude the first breakfast. This cotton cheese bagel looks good, but it contains salmon. The second set has toast with blueberry jam, which may cause an allergic reaction. As for the fourth option, fried bacon is hiding under this cute waffle. So, Stuart should choose the third option. Although it contains some purple cabbage, nobody said that he's allergic to purple vegetables too. The cook offers Stuart a deal.
If you guess my riddle, you'll get a double dessert.
Stuart agrees. Here's the riddle.
What melts in a freezer?
The frost when the freezer is switched off. After breakfast, Stuart goes to the school greenhouse to say hi to Miss Palmer. She looks very confused.
In the morning, 3 evil wizards opened a magical portal and snuck into the greenhouse. They took the shape of my plants, and now I don't know where they are.
Can you help Stuart find them? Take a look at this cactus. It has no root. It just floats in the air without a pot. All the lilies have 6 petals, but this one only has 5. And this pumpkin has a watermelon pattern and color. Therefore, these 3 odd plants should be the wizards. Stuart walks down the Great Hall. Suddenly, an owl lands on his head and ruins his hairstyling. Stuart gets furious and asks 3 students standing nearby, "Whose owl is this?" Can you spot the owner of this bird? It's this guy. He has the same colored accessory as his owl. It's time for the flying lesson. 3 students, Wendy, Drake, and Blair, are about to have a race on their broomsticks. Can you spot who's cheating? Blair is casting a spell on her broomstick to make it go faster. Blair gets disqualified. Meanwhile, Drake and Wendy and Rob get ready to start the race. Can you guess who's gonna win? Drake has a broken broom, and Rob's position is wrong. It will take him more time to catch the broom and hit the road, so Wendy has the best chance of winning. Stuart begins Transfiguration lesson. He gives each of his students an apple and asks them to turn the fruits into stones. And then Stuart goes to the toilet. After a while, he returns and finds a huge toad sitting on his desk. Stuart questions 3 suspects. Among the students, Drake says, "I didn't do it. I was too busy with your task. Luckily, I made it." Bella says,
It was Magnus. I saw him catching a toad in the pond last night.
And Magnus says,
It was Drake. He wanted to distract you because he didn't do his homework.
Who's lying? Drake. Take a look at his desk. There's an apple in front of him, but he said that he succeeded in turning it into a stone. Stuart is riding a broom in the garden during his lunch break. Suddenly, someone throws a purple paint tube on his head. Stuart loses balance and falls. He finds 3 suspects and interrogates them. Billy says,
I was just sitting under this ancient oak and doing my homework.
Bella says,
I was painting Billy's portrait. At some point, I noticed that my purple paint was missing. We both were here all the time.
And Lily says,
I was just flying on my broom. I didn't even see any paint, sir.
Who pranked Stuart? There's purple paint on Bella's hands, but it's okay because she was painting. Billy's outfit looks fine, but Lily has these odd smudges of purple paint on her hair. That's because she hid the tube under her witchy hat after the prank. Stuart is visiting the human world once a week because he loves one local bakery. But today, he finds out that he's not the only magical guy here. Can you guess why? Take a look at this pretty lady. She looks young, but her reflection in the mirror shows she's an old witchy lady. Every winter, a fancy ball takes place at the magic school. Several students perform a traditional dance as part of the opening ceremony. Suddenly, one of the dancers, Lily, loses her balance and falls in front of everyone. Stuart decides to investigate this case and finds out that someone had spilled olive oil on the dance floor on purpose. He interrogates 3 suspects. Harry says,
Sir, I didn't do it. Lily is my girlfriend. Why would I prank her so meanly?
Richard says,
Lily totally deserved that. She refused to go to the ball with me. I don't know who did it, but I'm grateful to this person.
And Bella says,
Before the performance, I was taking selfies with my boyfriend. Look at the pictures, if you don't believe me.
Now Stuart knows exactly who's guilty. What about you? It was Bella. Take a look at her selfies. She's wearing a witch bottle necklace and it's filled with greenish oil, but now it's empty. The magic school hired a photographer to take fancy pictures at the ball. This photo was taken at midnight, and this one half an hour later. Can you guess what happened here? This wizard didn't push her. He was actually trying to save her by raising his hands and casting a spell. And he succeeded, as we can see from the second picture. The winter ball is over. Stuart throws an after party for teachers at his apartment. Everything goes well, but the next day, Stuart finds out that someone had stolen the rarest and most expensive spell book from his secret library. Stuart has never told anyone about this room, but the lock isn't broken, which means that the thief knew a special spell to open the door. Only 4 guests possess this level of magic: Ambrose, Morgana, Rosamond, and Richard. Stuart rushes to the teacher's room. He questions all the suspects. Each teacher claims to have nothing to do with the robbery. Can you guess who's the thief? Ambrose. His coat is missing 1 gold button because he dropped it at the crime scene. Meanwhile, Ambrose looks through the spellbook and finds a potion recipe that allows teleporting anywhere. But unfortunately, the last 3 ingredients are encoded. Here's a hint to crack the first one. It's a flower that can be found between the nose and the chin. Any idea what it might be? Tulips. Here's the next hint. What kind of vegetable do people look forward to getting every month? Celery. And this clue will lead you to the final ingredient. What kind of room can you eat? Mushroom. Ambrose finishes the potion and teleports to an unknown place. In the evening, Stuart arranges an urgent Zoom call with his fellow wizards. They're all currently in the same city, but they don't have time to meet offline. Unfortunately, their video call gets interrupted by a stranger. Can you spot the imposter? All the wizards live in the same city, which means they're in the same time zone. The call takes place in the evening, It should be dark outside, but this guy is in the middle of a sunny day. Therefore, he's the imposter. Stuart goes to the magic market to buy special ingredients for a potion that will help him find the stolen book. 1 violet costs 10 bronze coins, and the price for 1 lily is 15 coins. Can you calculate the price of this 1 starflower? One starflower will cost 20 bronze coins. Each flower costs 2.5 coins per petal. And this particular starflower has 8 petals.
It's Lily's birthday, and Leah offered to treat her to a spa day. They arrived at the marvelous Pink Lotus Boutique Spa for their day of treatment and were sent to different rooms. One of the women received a text on their phone saying, "Be careful. Take a look at the image. Can you tell which friend is in danger?" It's Lily. The drink on that waiter's tray is definitely poisoned. She should get out of that place as fast as she can. Hello. Jonah woke up in a different timeline. Normally, he was a straight A student, but in this reality, he was a pretty bad student. His teacher put him in detention to see if his grades would get any better. During detention time, he had to solve some puzzles. For each puzzle he solved, he got points that would help him raise his grade. His first task was to find the difference between both images. He only had a few seconds, though. Can you help? Yep, that one on the right didn't have the scribble on the paper. For his next detention challenge, Jonah had to spot the difference between these 2 rabbits riding a motorcycle. Don't ask too many questions, just help him out. Yep, it was the helmet all along. Dana is a swimming champion preparing for her competition on Monday. 24 hours before the big day, she disappears. Nobody can find her. Her mother calls the police and asks them to investigate the crime, and they come up with 3 suspects. All of them are swimmers. Hannah says she hasn't spoken to Dana since their last practice. Ashley explains that she invited Dana for lunch on Saturday, but Dana refused because she was getting her hair done for the competition. And Melanie says that she spoke to Dana the night before. Dana told her that she was feeling anxious before the race. One of the swimmers is lying. Who is it? I mean, it's definitely Ashley. It doesn't make sense for a swimmer to get her hair done before a swimming match. It will get wet anyways. Daniel is a sailor on a large cruise ship. One day the captain asked him to go to the ship's lowest deck and get some supplies. But as the man was walking down the ladder, it broke and he fell down. Try as he might, he couldn't get out. And oh no! The situation was worse than he thought. There was a hole on the ship's hulk, and water was starting to fill the lower decks. Take a look around. Is there anything Daniel can do to save himself? Yep, he could put on a life jacket and wait for the water to fill the lower deck. He will simply float upwards, and then he can climb up those stairs again. I mean, if that ship doesn't go all Titanic, right? Yeah! Amelie was exploring her grandmother's closet when she came across something spectacular. A time machine. She set the date back to the 16th century and pressed go. She spent the day exploring a local market, but people kept looking at her differently. One man came up to her and said he knew she was a time traveler. He locked her in his basement and said he was going to look for where she hid the time machine. Amelie was so frustrated she got caught and was afraid she might never go back to her real life. That's when she saw that the basement had an old piano. Do you have any clue how Amelie can use that piano to escape? That's a tricky one, but she should play it until she finds the right key. You decided you needed to go on an adventure, so you packed your backpack and went hiking the Appalachian Trail. The thing is, since this was your first hike ever, you planned poorly. Your water only lasted for a day, and you needed a refill.
Oh no!
There are 4 sources of water before you: a pond, a lake, a juicy cactus, and a stream. Which one should you drink water from? Most cacti are toxic, so you should keep away from them. The waters from the pond and the lake are stagnant water, so this means they could be filled with stuff that isn't good for you. So that leaves the stream water. Way to go, you. Oh, yeah. It's getting rather late, and you realize you're lost in the middle of the forest. Your phone's GPS is not working, and you're standing at a fork in the road. You can choose between 4 roads leading north, south, west, or east. The path that heads north will lead you to a black hole. The road that leads south goes through a lake full of huge whale sharks. The one that leads east passes through a crater-sized hole. And the one that leads west will take you to a sky-high mountain that is impossible to climb over. Which way will you choose? You should head south. Whale sharks pose no threat to people, and it's probably not true that they exist inside that lake. I mean, they are sea creatures. Harry has spent the last 2 weeks in Egypt exploring ancient pyramids. He's an archaeologist, and he was looking for some groundbreaking discoveries on the history of the mummies. Inside one of the pyramids, he found a secret chamber. Written on this chamber's walls was this: if one can answer correctly, an ancient secret will be revealed. And right below this, Harry found a riddle. The next answer that should escape your lips should be the creature wrapped up in cloth strips. Can you guess what Harry should answer? Mummy! He should simply say the word mummy. Tom escaped from prison by digging a long tunnel in the floor of his cell. He had been crawling through the underground tunnel for 3 hours when he saw that the main tunnel was divided into 3 smaller ones. The first tunnel was on fire. The second tunnel was home to a nest of venomous snakes, and the third tunnel was filled with explosives. Which tunnel should Tom take to continue his prison break? He should choose the tunnel with fire. He can put the fire out with the dust from the ground and make his way to freedom.
Yeah!
Sierra wanted to go to her favorite band's concert, but she didn't have enough money to buy the tickets. Her local radio station was putting on a contest, and the winner would get tickets to the show. All she had to do was answer their riddle correctly. She called the radio station, and they asked her, "Every night I'm told what to do, and each morning I do what I'm told. But I still can't escape your scold. What am I?" Sierra won the tickets. Can you guess what she answered? The correct answer is an alarm clock. Sounds just about right, doesn't it? Amy woke up on an estranged island. She looked everywhere for something that could help her escape and found nothing. In the following days, she continued to look for something that could give her some direction, and came across 3 torn pieces of paper that could be joined to make one. She put everything together and managed to escape the island by water, using no other resources than the things she found. Can you figure out how she managed to do that? This one is tricky. Nothing was the name of the boat she found abandoned on the island.
Ooh.
Then she found torn pieces of paper that together made up a map. The map helped to guide her to the nearest inhabited island, and the boat helped her get out by water.
Yes!
Mirabelle walked into her father's deli and asked for a sandwich to go. When she looked to her right, she noticed something extremely out of the ordinary. Take a look at this image. Can you tell what it was? A turtle is hiding under the counter. This sure isn't normal.